Disclaimer. This episode contains graphic descriptions of violence that may be disturbing to some listeners. Please be advised.
Hey guys.
Hello. What's up?
I'm Taylor.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Amanda.
And this is Pop, Crime, and Wine.
Crime
we can also
and wine.
We never all say
Yeah,
it
we
together.
should all say it
we?
together.
Well, I feel like if we said it all together, it would sound like we tried too hard.
Or that it'd be like,
Yeah.
Or every single time we should all take it like an octave or like do harmonies and we'll be
know
like
what that
Pop
means.
Crime
I know,
and
it's like
Wine.
looking at Amanda
Pop
over
Crime
here.
and Wine.
Here, I'll
Pop
just say
Crime and Wine.
Pop Crime and Wine, and you guys like go with me.
Wait, okay, so you do it
ready?
again?
Pop Crime and Wine. Pop Crime and Wine.
Wait, the issue is that
Wait, do it again though. Do it again? I know
promised.
you can.
promised you would never sing on the
I did it like in a deep voice, it didn't count.
Bob Crime and Wine.
Pop Crime and Wine.
Pop Crime and Wine.
Ooh, Pop Crime and Wine.
Pop
That should
Crime
be
and
yeah.
Wine.
That it should be something like
Yeah,
that.
it should be that. You guys should just sing another one for me and just pretend like it's me, and I'll be like, yeah, that's me.
Perfect.
That's me. I just sang that.
I think this has been my favorite issue.
You're British?
We are a magazine.
This has been my favorite intro that we've
nice.
ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Welcome, everybody.
it. Welcome.
If you're just joining us for the first time, we are a podcast that talks about true crime and pop culture and a bunch of other random shit that pops into our head.
We
So-
just talk about things and drink wine.
Get ready.
We're really good at
What
it.
wine do we have this week and who is our sponsor?
Oh, speaking of that.
Segue right into that, bitch.
So this week our sponsor is my cousin, Randallin, and she'll get mad if I don't say that she's my favorite cousin.
Is she your favorite cousin?
She's in the top 3 for sure. And I have no problem saying that.
Does she know she's only in the top 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what's her first name?
Randallin?
Randallin.
Randallin. I thought you said Raylan.
I thought you said Raylan.
No.
Randallin.
I like
Yeah.
that. Randallin. What a cool name.
Okay, what is the wine?
It is Apothic Inferno.
Ooh. I really like Apothic Crush. And Apothic in general, so I assume this is a really good wine.
So I have had this wine before because my husband is obsessed with whiskey, and this wine was aged in whiskey barrels for 60 days. And so when it first came out, he was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to get this," and that's what he sounds like.
Oh my god, we have to get this.
This is my impression of Mark. I'm from Long Island.
Oh god.
I'm sure he'll love that impression.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Island.
He says, "Happy Mother's Day." Mother's Day.
Mother. And I say, hey ma.
He actually never sounds like he's from New York, except for when he says
Says Long
Sometimes.
Island. And like weird like vowels.
Yeah, he says water. Like
Water.
He says water
Water.
weird, and he says Mother's Day, but he says that he says it because he's kidding. I don't believe him. I think that he just says it because that's how he says
can't help it.
Mother's Day.
I love the New York accent.
I do too. I wish he had more of what.
I've been watching
Like,
a lot
why
of
don't you
Cake
sound
Boss.
like you're from New York?
So Buddy the Cake Boss. That's what I've been watching on
Oh yeah.
TV. Oh,
I'm not.
You
used to
can
using
do
yours.
this. You can do this.
nice.
That was a good pop. That was a really good
I just
pop.
need to say that this is the first time I have ever opened the wine here,
and all
I'm impressed.
This is like episode 19 or 20.
and here I am. I finally did
20.
it.
Is it 20?
I don't know. Either way, I finally
It's like
figured,
19ish or 20.
really proud of
Or
you.
21.
I figured it was my turn to pay my dues.
Yeah, finally.
Amanda has an electric. I don't know if we've talked about this
We've
before.
talked about it every
We did.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring it up again.
We
She
talk
has
about it
an
all the time.
electric wine opener, and it's cheating.
Because she's fancy. It's
I-
not cheating. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but I also was a server for like 8 years, so I know how to open the wine.
Just
I was
a
a
little
bartender
rusty.
for a little while.
She
too.
just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I just want you guys to do it for me.
That's fair.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm so
Glug
good
a
at
lug
this.
lug,
Wow.
baby.
Cheers. Thank you, Randallin. Let's
You guys
try
have
this.
not been cheersing. Just want to say that.
We're normally not close enough to cheers.
Oh my goodness. It's like smoky wine.
That's why it's called Inferno.
Oh, this might be my new favorite.
It's so good.
I usually just go with the Apothic Red because
Apothic is pretty great. You like Apothic Red.
Yeah.
I like Apothic Crush.
You like the coffee one too.
Ooh, the coffee one's
I
really
haven't
good.
ever
We should do
tried
that
the
one
coffee
next.
one.
Who wants to sponsor Apothic Coffee? Except what's it called? Is it Apothic Coffee?
I forgot. I found it at Walmart on clearance.
Ooh, but it was so good.
Oh, I hope it's not like no longer made or something. This is a limited batch. It says small batch limited release.
I'm a fan.
I'm
Yeah,
a fan
thanks,
too.
Randy.
Yeah, this is really
This is
good.
great.
You call her Randy?
Do you call
I
her
love
Randy?
that.
That's cute.
Well, I mean, my grandma calls her Randy. I call her Randy sometimes, but she doesn't love it. But like family, like it's
Ooh, she should like take
That's
that
adorable.
on.
yeah. But her
as-
name is Randallin. Like nobody's named Randallin. It's a cool name.
Yeah,
She,
but
like,
you
no
don't hear
woman
girls named Randy.
No woman is named Randy. She'd be,
She is.
stand out either way.
I think
I
that
love it.
she's okay
Yeah,
with it,
love it.
But I tried to spell it with an I one time.
Yeah, with
and
an
she
I.
got mad at me. I think that's what
Oh.
it was. She was like, "If you're gonna do it, spell it with a Y." And
Mm.
I was like, "Yeah, but I tried to go by Mandy with an I, and I was just trying to make us cool."
Oh, I did it. I did that in high school, and to this day, friends from my high school will still spell it with an I.
I was
weird.
apparently like a stripper because I tried to do it with two I's.
I tried to do 2 E's.
Ooh.
It was an
Mandy.
experimental phase. That was my experimental phase. I didn't go to college, so I didn't have a second one.
Yeah,
Guys, you really can't like shorten my name to like
TT.
another name
Tay.
though. People don't. Hey, Tay. I don't like that.
Tay Tay.
what if
No,
I called you
no one
Lore?
calls me Tay.
Lore.
I'm gonna call you.
I
Lore.
like Lore or Lori.
Lore.
Lori
I
would be cool.
I do have a friend Taylor, and I call him Lori because he started calling me Mandy, and I was like, "F you, I'm not Mandy. That's not my name." Because my mom like put that in my mind when I was a kid that she named
I
me.
hate the name Amanda for myself,
Yeah,
so that's fine.
she told me when I was a kid when I tried to go by Mandy, she was like, "I named you Amanda, not Mandy, and you are Amanda." And I was like, "Okay." And so then in my mind, I'm Amanda. Like if someone calls me Mandy, I'm like, "That's not my name."
What if I
If
just
so-
called
if
you
somebody
Duh?
No.
I don't.
I got the ding. They got the. What was it? They were like ding donging my fucking hair because I used to put it half up, and they would go like a man ding dong or something. A man ding dong.
That's mean.
I don't remember, but I just remember they used to pull on my hair, and it was not nice. Also, they used to do the Amanda.
Did you guys have names that people made fun of you like when you were kids? Like did you have a nick? Well, so you had a man ding dong, apparently,
Yeah, I guess.
or man ding dong.
Weird.
Okay, so let's get into crime since we've
Okay.
talked enough about
Yeah.
random.
Oh, real quick though, I mentioned it a second ago, but let's bring it back. We do have merch for those of you who don't listen till the end of the podcast. I want you to know that we
get y'all
have it.
merch. Get a t-shirt. Get a hoodie. It's
Yeah,
really cold out
represent.
right now.
Yes.
I don't know where you're from.
Also, you
but
can put hot coffee in the coffee mugs.
it's probably cold right now, so you want a sweater.
Yes.
But yes, the mug looks so good.
So cute.
It looks so good.
I love
I
it.
love all of it. I just want to buy.
You get a
all of it.
sticker. If you don't want to like really commit to getting a big piece of merch, get a sticker and put that thing on your phone or like
Yeah.
on a laptop or
Your car.
pole somewhere.
Is it bad for us to like wear our own merch?
Hell no.
Hell no.
Okay, just
That's
making
free.
sure.
We're walking billboards.
Yeah.
I don't want people to judge me and think that I'm into myself, but I kind of am.
The thing is, no one will know. Like,
But-
onlookers won't know. They'll just be like, what is that big pair of lips that says pop, crumb, and wine on her shirt? And then they'll look it up and they'll be like, cool.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know?
Cool. Yeah.
I'm glad I
Cool.
just
Yeah.
swayed you to this
I'm
side of
doing
the
it.
road.
Let's do it.
Let's get into crime.
True crime.
Okay. So, this week, I'm going to be talking about the Parker-Hulme.
Hulme?
Hulme?
How do you spell it?
In my head, I was not saying it weird. I don't think this is the first time I said it out loud. Hulme? I think it's Hulme. Hulme.
Like home
Hume?
instead of
Hulme?
Hulme or Holme?
Hume.
Holme.
I'm going to say Hulme.
Home.
say Holme.
I
Okay.
would say home.
Parker-Hulme Murder Case.
Okay.
Okay. This happened in Christchurch, New Zealand, which, side note, this is where Taylor's husband, Sam, is from. Like, the exact city and everything.
It's a beautiful place.
It's really beautiful.
I'm really
And
excited.
actually, there are not very many murders, so I'm kind of excited to hear about,
This was back in the 50s.
some true crime
Yeah.
New Zealand time.
Yes. So this involves the Parker family and the Hulme family. Now I'm going to be, in my head, it was not weird.
Maybe just say it with a New Zealand accent.
I can't do that either. That'll be worse
Taylor?
for everyone involved.
Hulme. No, I got nothing. Keep going.
Okay. This happened in 1954. So, starts off with these two girls that knew each other. And I'm going to start with, back up. Blah, blah. Honora Reaper, also known as Honora Parker, was the mom of Pauline Parker. And she was one of the main girls in this murder case. Pauline's friend, Juliet Hulme, is the other girl involved in this. So it's really just the three of them for this entire story.
Okay.
The girls were 15 and 16 at the time, and this was in 1954. So Pauline, grew up in a working class family, and Juliet was the daughter of a physicist who was the rector of a University of Canterbury in Christchurch. Do you know where that is?
Canterbury, yeah.
Okay.
Canterbury is the province.
Okay.
So it's a little bit bigger, but it's I mean, New Zealand's a tiny country,
It is,
so it's
so
pretty much
nearby.
it's relative.
So he worked for the university. As children, Pauline had osteomyelitis, and Juliet had tuberculosis.
What is osteomyelitis?
It has to be something with your bones.
I looked it up, and it is basically just bone infections that can cause a lot of pain, and sometimes amputations are necessary.
Gross.
And then, then
the other person had
Juliet
tuberculosis?
tuberculosis.
And they're friends?
Well, that's how they kind of became friends, because they ended up going to the same school together. So Juliet was actually sent by her parents to the Bahamas and South Africa to recuperate, because I guess they just had some medicine back then that was better than what New Zealand had. Juliet was born in London and arrived with her parents in New Zealand in 1948, and Pauline was born and raised in New Zealand. The girls met at Christchurch Girls High School, and they initially bonded over their medical conditions, and then their bond grew, and they ended up both kind of having this weird... I mean, you know how you like make up stories as a kid, and you know that you're from this place, and that this is your life story and everything. They kind of did that, but they were 15 and 16, and they literally created a fantasy world that they lived in.
Oh, like they were from other places.
Yeah, or just whatever their stories were. And I don't think that they ever really specified their fantasy story. So anyway, they would sneak out of their houses and spend the night acting out these stories, like in parks nearby or at other people's houses and stuff. And they had like made up fictional characters. They created these elaborate stories, these fantasy places.
Can I pause you for
Yes.
a second? My cousin and I, shout out Sam. Her name's Samantha.
Married your cousin.
What up, Sam? No. Different person. She's a girl. But we used to play this game called Ponyland, and we'd go up to the end of my grandparents' driveway, and I'd stand on one side. This sounds really stupid now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm speaking out loud. But I'm standing on the end of the driveway, and she would go across the street and turn and do like a presentation. She'd be like, "This is why we need to save Ponyland," and then go into all these elaborate stories that the ponies are eating too much of this, and so all the ponies are dying off, and we really need to fix Ponyland. And then we would switch sides, and I would do a presentation about why we needed to save Ponyland.
Okay. But how old were you?
23.
20 at least.
Last year.
No, I mean probably like up until I was probably 12.
Well,
Easy.
but that's still like I still feel that's very much adolescent, still childlike.
But it
before
definitely started early
puberty.
and
That's right
funny.
around puberty that all of a sudden like these adult feelings and thoughts, and your whole life changes, your body is changing.
And when my mother took me to the movies, I would pretend that I was a foreign exchange student. And so I'd
Did
go,
you put on an accent?
Yes, I would go to get
bless.
the tickets, and I'd be like, "Oh, can I get And then I'd like stop and I'd look at my mother and she'd be like, "Oh, sorry, she can't she can't speak English very well." And she would go,
Debbie.
with it.
Wow.
And I'd be like, "Thank you so much."
You were so weird.
You should have been an actress.
I was so weird. I was an actress for a while.
Oh my God. That makes me so happy.
I was Jane Eyre. I was also Mrs. Havisham in Great Expectations. Cool. And Rizzo in Grease. Okay, we can keep going. Let's go.
Okay. So anyway, Juliet and Pauline would also make up these
extravagant stories,
but they were a little older, and they were very passionate about it to the point that they really put it into their reality. So they were not able to really, or they didn't want to discern reality from their fiction. Their parents found out and about, how they were acting out these things together, and they were actually worried that their relationship might be sexual in nature. They thought that they were lesbians, which back then at the time was considered a mental illness, which is sad, but this is the 50s. So their parents both tried to prevent the girls from seeing each other. In 1954, Juliet's parents ended up splitting, and her father resigned from his position at Canterbury College, and they planned to return to England. They decided that Juliet would be sent to live with relatives in South Africa. They said it was for her health, but they also said that it was because they wanted the girls to be separate. They did not want them to see each other whatsoever. So Pauline tried to go with Juliet to South Africa, pled her case to her parents and Juliet's parents, but they all just refused. And at that point, the girls then decided to form a plan to murder Pauline's mother.
Oh, no.
For keeping them apart.
Wait, is Pauline the one who's going to South Africa, or Pauline's the one who wants to go with her?
She's the one that wants to go with Juliet.
Okay.
So Pauline and her mother are the ones that
are living in New Zealand.
Yes.
Okay.
And Juliet was the one from England.
Okay.
And they wanted to murder Pauline's mom, and they thought that they would leave the country for Hollywood or New York City, where they believed they would publish their own writings and work in film. So they really were committed to this. We're going to write stories, and we're going to, make money and make a living off of this. And so all kinds of fantasies. On June 22nd, 1954, Honora and Juliet went for a walk. Oh, I'm sorry. On June 22nd, 1954, Honora went for a walk with her daughter, Pauline, and Pauline's friend Juliet through Victoria Park in Christchurch, New Zealand. A little ways down the path, in a wooded area of the park near a small wooden bridge, Juliet and Pauline bludgeoned Honora to death with half a brick and an old sock. That was their plan, was just to do it in this park. Yeah.
And they did it.
And they did it. And they killed her. And so after they bludgeoned this woman to death, of course, they're covered in blood. They ran back to this tea stand that they had just eaten at with Pauline's mom. And the owners came out. And so they were and they were only gone for a couple minutes. This was not a long period of time between that. So they're covered in blood, and these owners come out from the tea stand, and the girls went on about this whole story about that Pauline's mom, Honora, had fallen and hit her head, and she's bleeding and whatever. And so Kenneth, it was Agnes and Kenneth Ritchie were the owners of the tea shop, and he went to go find Honora because he wanted to go and see if he could help her. Mm-hmm. Major lacerations were found on her head, neck, and face, with minor injuries to her fingers. So obviously she was probably fighting back. Police were called to the scene, and the girls were there, and they tried to keep up this story about that she fell and that, they tried to help her and all this shit, but they were just covered in her blood.
Yeah.
And they ended up finding the murder weapon, the brick, and the sock, super close by. And so then their story ended up just falling apart. And so they were arrested. But since they were juveniles, things were a little iffy, because murder with juveniles there's a lot of gray area for trials and stuff. Mm-hmm. Apparently their trial was super sensational. There were speculation about their possible romantic relationship. People were convinced that they were lesbians. And I guess this really upset a lot of people. And they also thought that they were both just insane. Both girls ended up being convicted on August 28th, 1954. So just a couple months later, they were just sitting in jail the whole time. They were too young to be considered for the death penalty. So each of them spent only 5 years in prison.
What?
That's it.
What?
Yeah. Like, that's it.
How did they live
Total.
out the rest of their life?
So sources say that they were released on the condition that they never contact each other again. But then Sam Barnett, the judge, the Secretary of Justice, had told journalists that there was no such condition. But so we don't know where that came from, I guess. But it was part of their story. So Juliet, after her release, this is 5 years later, so Juliet was 15 at the time. So
She
she's
got
20.
out when she was 20?
Which
Yeah,
one
20 or
had
21.
tuberculosis? Doesn't that kill you?
It can. It doesn't kill everybody.
I'm a Moulin Rouge fan, so I just assume that everybody dies.
Cough
from
up
it.
blood.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's fair.
Keep going.
It did kill a lot of people. Okay, Juliet, she went back to England, and then she also spent time in the U.S. after she got out. She became a successful historical detective novelist, and she went under a new name, Anne Perry. So she created a new alias. I mean, in a legal way. She just went by a different name for her novels.
Yeah.
She also converted to Mormonism.
It's not what it's called.
Mormon.
It's just she became LDS. That's what it is.
Okay, so she was Mormon since 1968. Her real identity was actually not well known until 1994. In March of 2006, Perry, also Juliet, stated that while her relationship with Pauline Parker was obsessive, it was never sexual. They never were lovers. They never, it was all just, they had a bond. Very obsessive one. Okay, so, and that's just kind of how she lived the rest of her life. She was a writer, lived under the radar, nobody really gave a shit.
Crazy that she could just... They
Yeah.
were out in 5 years.
5 years.
Is it her mom that they killed?
It was Pauline's mom. Juliet
Oh,
was a friend of Pauline's.
But Juliet was the one who helped her come up with the
Yes.
idea of
Yeah.
killing her mom.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she was such a good novelist.
Yeah.
Well, it said historical. Historical detective novelist,
So there's murder in it.
I guess.
Usually.
Yeah.
Or it's just
Detectives.
But that's not just murder. I mean, I think detectives can look up facts or details about maybe historical facts, or historical events. Maybe she was just
Wouldn't those be historians?
I don't know.
I think that detectives usually just work on
Just for murder?
cases. Yeah. I mean, not murder, but some type of a legal case because you work for the police department.
I did read a book about vampires once, and there was a detective on the case. But then again, it was dead people with
Yeah.
blood.
Thank you.
I love that
Blood.
you pointed to your
I
neck
pointed
when
to
you
my
did it.
neck.
You're blood. I was
I
caress
did
my
the
neck.
2 fingers because it was there's 2 holes.
Two punctures from
Get
the
it?
vampire.
Vampire.
teeth.
Get it? All right. Cool.
Two
So
holes.
after Pauline Parker's arrest, and it was her mother that they killed, she spent some time in New Zealand under close surveillance before being allowed to leave for England. So she definitely had a hold on her travel for a while. Since 1997, she's been living in the small village of Who, near Strood, Kent.
Lives in Whoville.
Who?
Is she the Grinch?
Wait, is it who? W-H or
H-O-O.
H-O-O. Interesting.
Who? Near Strood, Kent. She, and this part gets me for some reason. She's running a children's riding school.
No.
Writing or
Riding, horseback riding.
Okay.
But children?
Yes. I don't know why that part, because she was
It's
a
because
child
she murdered somebody
as a kid.
and so now she's working with children, and that's
Yeah.
She didn't murder
absolutely
a kid.
horrific.
She murdered her own
She didn't.
mother.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She murdered you. She had it in her heart.
Yeah.
Ooh.
As an adult, she became Roman Catholic, and she expressed strong remorse for having killed her mother, and for many years refused to give interviews about the murder. So.
That's interesting that Pauline, the one whose mother died, who she was born and raised New Zealand, ended up going to England, and Juliet, the one who was gonna go to England with her family, ended up in New York.
But she went to England first, right? Did
Who,
you say-
Pauline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
well,
Juliet.
Yeah.
They both ended
Juliet-
up going to England.
Oh,
Juliet
okay.
spent time. No, Juliet
Went to South
England
Africa,
and
right?
U.S.
Oh,
That was before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was all mixed up.
So
She was
anyway,
like-
but the story ended up the story ended up inspiring multiple films and novels, as a lot of murder cases do, especially if they're as sensational as two teenage girls killing one of their mothers. The big one though was Peter Jackson's. It's called Heavenly Creatures.
I've heard of that, but I've never seen it.
So that's one of the most famous. And then also they're both, Juliet and Pauline are both 80 years old and still alive.
Wow.
Or 80 and 81.
I wonder if they keep in touch.
Doubtful.
You think?
I doubt it. I don't think they did not keep in touch after they were released.
Well, because they weren't supposed to, right?
Not that's not what the
Man, I feel like
Secretary of Justice said.
murdering someone together would bring you closer to someone, to the point where you you know,
I'm sure it did.
check
but
in
then,
on each other every once in a while. Like, hey, are you still good? I know it's crazy. We're both out, right?
Yeah.
But
Or-
maybe not. I could be really
Or maybe
wrong.
they knew that it was such a toxic relationship that they don't. I read this meme today that said, "Do you check on the trash after you take it outside?" And then it says, "Then why are you still talking to your ex?"
Oh, that's hilarious.
So
That was really
funny.
good.
So maybe that's how they feel, is that
Yeah.
they took the trash out
yeah.
and they no longer work on their toxic relationship. Maybe that's why they're okay with living.
Yeah. Wow. That's a really good one.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
me too.
Crazy.
I also would think that what is her name? Pauline would be more messed up because she murdered her own mom.
Yeah, her
yeah.
own mom.
I was,
What
like,
does
waiting
her
for
dad
her-
think? What does her
They s-
family think?
No, Juliet's parents split. It didn't say anything about her parents in the article I read, or the couple articles I read.
I wonder if
Sure, she was estranged from them.
yeah. I was waiting for her to be in an insane asylum.
Although
or
you
something.
really never know, because sometimes people stand behind whether they, I mean, obviously there are families, there's someone who killed their mother and their father's still behind them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They
plenty.
believe them and shit.
I listen
the
to
staircase.
I literally listen. Yeah, I listen to these podcasts
His
all
daughters
day,
are
every day,
yeah.
and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How in the world? But then again, I think about, oh no. Yeah, that would be pretty messed up.
Yeah, but the staircase, they really don't believe that he killed her.
But that's what I'm saying is all the evidence points
to him doing it.
to him doing it.
The
and then-
staircase itself is very
You don't think that she got killed by a bird?
definitely not the
It
owl
was a
theory,
barred owl.
but
Still a bird.
No.
there's too much evidence pointing to the fact that there was a struggle. Like there were smeared blood marks, like where someone had tried to wipe blood away, and then spatters on top of that.
Right.
For it to be an accident, it doesesWe should
Also-
actually do an episode on that.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really pay to get into it. It was a
And then he
long
dated
docuseries.
the editor of the
Of the show.
Yeah.
and
That's why
just
I didn't watch
very.
the show. Just like I don't watch Making a Murderer. I've said this before. on
What
the
was funny
episode.
is in our last episode, what did you say? You didn't say making of a murder. You said
to make
To
a
make a
murder.
murder.
to make a murderer
yeah.
or something.
to make a murderer, I think.
Oh, it was hilarious because I was listening and I was like, "Oh my god, what did she just say?" And none of us we didn't say anything. We were just like,
Really?
"Yep, exactly."
I've
Nice.
seen it. Yeah.
That's the one with the guy,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
Whatever,
heated about
don't
that,
even
though.
Start. You called the oven the baker earlier.
Okay.
So
So
Let's not get into that.
okay,
she's gonna edit that out.
Taylor called the oven the baker.
She definitely did.
She meant it.
We all
Okay.
have days.
Okay.
Mandy used to have them all the time.
What used to?
Well, you haven't had them on the on the
On the episode,
episodes lately.
I guess I'm
Randall, this wine is great.
it really is. I do feel like it's stronger than normal.
It's
Probably the whiskey.
15.9.
whiskey
Ooh.
barrels.
Ooh.
Oh no, it's delicious. Though.
Yeah, it is really good.
What are we talking about for pop culture this week?
Get
guys?
excited.
Well,
This is
Randallin,
Randallin's, yeah.
She gave us this topic.
Oh.
So for those of you that are just tuning in and haven't figured out yet, I, Amanda, am from this lovely state called Florida.
Which we love to hate.
Yeah, we make fun of it all the time. If you follow us on social media, which you should, we make fun of Florida a lot.
At Pop, Crime, and Wine.
I'm allowed to, though, because that's my home. I think that...
Yeah,
that makes
we're
it
not
okay.
allowed to. Only you are allowed to.
Okay.
But I do it anyway.
I do it anyway.
Let's just pretend like...
But I love Florida. Like
do not.
going on
I actually really
vacation
hate it.
there every once in a while. But I love the beach, and that's why. You like the mountains.
I like Harry Potter World.
That's in
That's
Florida.
Hey,
the
that is
only-
in Florida.
Yeah, but they have one in California.
That's
So the one you've
And
been
they have
to
one in
is
London.
Guess where's the one that you've been to? Oh, Florida.
Yeah, because it's the cheapest. You know why? Because nobody wants to go there.
Oh God.
Anyway.
No offense to anyone from Florida.
Also, take
Some
all
offense.
of the offense.
Some of the offense. A moderate amount.
just a slight amount of
I did
offense.
tell my cousin today. I was like, "Yeah, I keep trying to talk Mark into moving to Florida with me," and she was like, "Why would you do that? Don't ever come here." And I was like,
Terrible
"Yeah,
idea.
that's true."
We should all just move to New Zealand. I'll just put that out there.
That
Oh,
would
God.
be way too far from the Disney World for me.
We can make our own Disney World.
No.
They don't have a winter.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Do they?
it snows there sometimes.
It's winter there. Not right now. It's
the
nice
summer.
now. In the summer, in our summer, it's winter there.
Do they get snow?
Yes, they have mountains.
I've talked to
Who
Sam
are
about
you?
this.
I've never been there.
Okay, anyway, Randallin gave me this topic because, in case anyone has been living under a rock, we recently had an election.
We did.
On November 6th, which I hope that all of you voted that day. But in Florida, they passed this new law that allowed, that gave felons the right to vote.
Yes, I did see that.
And so she was like, "Hey, I was listening to these two people get in this huge argument about it the other day, and I think it's a great topic, so you guys should totally talk about it." So Taylor and I decided to listen to her and do this.
So this
And
is
I think-
this is solely about felons voting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Felons being able to vote. Not necessarily in Florida. I mean, I'm
in
sure some
general.
of the statistics will be from there.
Yeah, I
But-
did
Okay.
a lot of my research about Florida just because I was shocked about some of it.
Yeah.
So, like, I know this is going to sound stupid. What does a felon entail? Is
Okay.
it
Anyone
just
that's been
a
go
Someone who's been convicted of a felony. So that can be someone who, committed murder or manslaughter or assault, or there's animal cruelty, vehicular homicide,
So these are pretty serious
larceny.
crimes.
But then there's also larceny and there's arson. Like you can
You can't accidentally.
but you could be an
commit a felony.
18-year-old that accidentally lights, or not accidentally, maybe purposefully lights something on fire when you're being real. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Stupid.
Angsty. I was thinking
Teenage
angsty.
angst.
And it causing a big fire and then you getting arrested. Felon right there. And then you can never vote. And that's
ever.
Well, in some states, it's different than other states.
Yeah.
Does a
so-
felony ever go, like, are you labeled as a felon for the rest of your life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's lifelong.
Yes.
Tax evasion, fraud, check. What is it? Check.
Check fraud? Like,
I'm sorry. Let me keep going. We got grand theft, vandalism, which Banksy. I would hate a day where Banksy can't vote.
Also,
He's
can we just
not
talk
from
about
America.
How great Banksy is.
Yeah,
Banksy,
absolutely.
Banksy is really
Did
a
amazing.
we
friend of mine
ever
did
talk-
a documentary on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Did we ever talk about
It's on Netflix.
the portrait that got sold and then destroyed itself after it got sold?
No.
The Mona Lisa one?
No, Banksy had the picture with the girl with the balloons. Did you not see this?
No, I didn't.
It
The
got
one that,
sold
like,
in
went
an
through the
auction.
shredder or
Yeah.
something?
It was
Yeah.
it was in photo, like it was in a frame, and it got sold at auction for like $1.2 billion or something. Like it was like so much money. And then as soon as it got sold at the auction, there was this noise that went off and everybody watched, and the photo destroyed itself. It went
Stop
through.
it.
It was
There's a
there was a
shredder
at the bottom
of the frame?
Yeah.
and it all of the picture like went through and fell on the ground and
It's so
totally
Banksy.
shredded itself.
Oh my gosh, I did not see that. That must have happened somewhat recently.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
probably happened like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. a month ago or
Because when I was going through art school, I did a whole thing on him and his whole like Palestine, the whole wall that he did. There's some really beautiful work. Like he's actually super talented.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they think that he was at this auction and then he
That's
pressed the button or something.
amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Did you watch Exit Through the Gift Shop?
Yes.
It's so good.
It's good.
So good. I think it's still on Netflix. We should
is.
watch it together.
Okay.
But yeah, vandalism, treason, kidnapping, rape, obstruction of justice, perjury, check fraud, copyright infringement, blackmail, extortion, forgery, and child porn.
Did you talk about drugs?
There's also, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't put that in the same grouping, but people who sell drugs, but also in some states, they have it.
If you have enough drugs found on you, you can become a felon as well.
Like with the
That's a
intent to
felony.
sell.
They think, yeah, because why
Is that
would
a
you have
felony?
that many? I don't know if it's the intent to sell. I don't know. But I know that if you have
No,
enough.
without
then
the intent to
it's
sell.
just having enough of a certain type of drug. Like if you have too many grams, I don't know things about drugs. But if you have too many of them, then
You have
can
too
get
many
a
grams?
felon.
Oh yeah,
just
manufacture, sale, possession of illegal drugs, and then it says in some states, simple possession without intent to sell. It can be a felony.
But if you watch Orange is the New Black, they're in federal prison. So everything that those people have done on that show, they are felons.
It's crazy.
So,
All right. So, shoot.
so
But there's almost 6 million
Yeah.
people
Cannot
in the
vote.
United States that are disenfranchised, which means disenfranchised is like the same thing. That's like what people call taking away these fundamental rights from someone based on.
Because they lost them because
Yeah.
they did a bad thing.
Yep.
How many people are in the U.S.?
a lot.
Sorry.
A lot. Let's
No.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many people are in the United States? 325,145,963.
So it's still a big chunk.
That's
Unless
a
someone
huge
just was born.
chunk.
Yeah.
It's a
That
huge
can't
chunk.
vote.
And what's crazy is, okay, I don't know if you get into this with your research, but
Let me just quickly say that when we decided to do this, we tried to pick sides.
oh yeah,
And when we were like, okay, let's try and pick a side.
let's do like a real life debate
and have a discussion. And I was like, okay, I'm going to like make it difficult on myself, and I'm going to research why felons shouldn't have the right to vote. And Taylor was like, okay, I'll pick why they should. Like, it took us a while to decide who was going to do what, because neither of us really knew where we
I was
stood.
gonna
yeah,
say,
I kind
did
of
you
never
have,
really
like, a-
sat down and
Okay.
thought about it before.
And I'll get into that too later.
I think because none of my friends have felonies, I've never actually discussed it with someone I knew.
It's not like
And
in a
so it's not
personal
something
way.
that actually affects my life all
Yeah.
that much,
Oh,
honestly.
I guess I'll just get into it now. I am from Florida, so I always thought that if you had a felony, you couldn't vote.
Ever. Yeah,
Ever.
me too. I
Like,
kind of thought
this
that
is
too.
what I've always known.
Never thought about it. I guess.
Well, my dad didn't vote for a long time because he thought he had a felony.
Aw,
So,
sad.
well, also because he didn't believe that his vote mattered until recently, and
Yeah.
now he votes. But, which I think everyone should vote.
Go vote.
Go vote. Well,
go vote.
you missed that, but go vote.
Go vote next time.
Unless you're voting for the wrong person. No, I'm just kidding.
There's always going to be a wrong person. Everyone's going to think that you're voting for the wrong person.
No, half the world is going to think you're voting for the wrong person. So,
It depends on where you live.
yeah,
Are they recounting
that's
in
true.
Florida?
Yes.
They are
we
recounting
speak.
like
Welcome to
all the
Florida.
places.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, like every time.
I thought that that was a normal thing because I grew up in Florida and we always have a recount. Starting in 2004.
2000.
2000
Speaking
was it?
well, oh, Maybe it was 2004.
Wisconsin has had a
I
couple
know
recounts.
it was the Bush.
Well, the big Bush Al Gore one
That was-
is the craziest
that was
thing
2004, I'm pretty
ever.
sure.
That was 2000.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 2000. But it wasn't. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there was a recount actually, because that was what I was gonna get into.
But
Do you talk about it?
No. So I thought that you couldn't vote because of a felony. And then, so a lot of the ways that I have grown up thinking about this is because I'm from Florida. And so I felt kind of ignorant today whenever I was researching, and I found out that I thought Florida was being progressive by voting to like give felons the right to vote. And I found out that we are actually like late to the table.
Yeah, because there are only 12 states who don't allow felons after their sentences and they get out of jail and they have their parole or probation, whatever that is. 36, I think it's 36 states. Is it 36?
Well, I found different things. So I have
a really fast question.
Wait. Yeah. Just to finish the sentence, like 36 states say felons get their rights back after their parole or probation.
So I have it broken down even more.
I have a really fast question.
Go ahead.
Can you vote in prison?
Hold on, I'm about to
Is
say
that
that.
part of it? Okay,
about
I'm
to say
sorry.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So two
states.
states have
Yeah.
no restriction. Where Maine and Vermont, they have no restriction
They
at
have
all.
absentee
Everybody
ballots.
can
Okay.
vote.
So
Yeah.
they can vote
That makes sense.
through absentee in prison.
I have 15 states that can vote in prison. Or after prison, like once you get
After
out of prison.
prison.
Sorry. So two states you can vote
In
at any
prison.
time. Yes.
Yes.
There's 15 states that you can vote out of prison. There are 4 states that after prison you have to finish parole and then you can vote. And then there are 18 states that you have to go to, like after prison you have to do parole and then you have to do probation. And like once you're done with that, then you can vote.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Probation was kind of almost a lifelong thing for a lot of the more serious
I think
crimes.
I do think it depends
If
on
they
the
get
crime.
out.
It depends on, so like murder and like sexual things are different, like probation. And then there were the 12 that like they don't, like no matter what, like it's
You lose it
harder.
permanently.
Yeah.
Like you can't vote. And those 12 are Tennessee, Arizona, Nevada, Nebraska, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Florida, Iowa, Alabama, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, and Mississippi, which
kind of all makes sense.
all pretty low in the
Wisconsin.
country.
I also found
I meant low, like most of them are southern, like lower part of the country.
I mean, most of Wisconsin's very rural, so
There's
that's
no
why we go
southern
back
here.
we go back and forth, blue or red state.
Yeah.
That's why we have had
Yeah.
recounts.
and then I also found that most of those that you read off, they like some people with criminal convictions can vote. So they like go through and they just decide like, oh, well, you can vote because you did this felony, but you didn't do this felony. And so they like, it's a case by case. And then there are 3 up until recently. It was, Kentucky and Iowa. And
forget
then
Iowa's
Florida, that all felons completely across the board can't vote, but then Florida just changed that. So,
I guess it's not something that has ever crossed my mind.
well, you've never
Yeah.
committed
No,
a
I don't have it.
felony.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that actually. That's a lie now. I know one felon, and he's a family friend, sort of, from Wisconsin, and I've only recently come to know him, so it's not really a friend.
So what's funny, what I came across, and I didn't realize at the time because I was, a child when it happened, but back in 2000, the presidential election between Al Gore and President Bush, George W. Did you know that the deciding factor was on Florida?
Yes.
And he won by 537 votes.
Yes.
That's
So
insane.
537 votes. But did you know how many people at the time were felons who couldn't technically vote in Florida, just in Florida in the year 2000?
Couple mil.
750,000 people.
Yeah.
And the deciding factor was based on 537 votes.
So insane.
And
it's just nothing.
Also, what I found in research was 73% usually vote Democratic. So if that were to be the case, if all of those people ended up being able to vote, George W. Bush wouldn't have been our president.
Yeah.
Someone else would have been our president based on one state.
We don't know that
No,
for sure.
of course
But,
we don't know that for sure. But statistically
or at least like a
speaking,
projection.
like that would have would have for sure swayed the vote. If 538 of those felons out of 750,000 had voted to Al Gore, he would have won. It would have changed completely.
That 70% of felons don't vote even though they have the right to.
That's interesting. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I found that one when I was trying to find reasons why they should.
It's probably like a fuck the system kind of mentality if you're already, breaking the law to that extent.
So
although if we're taking away the right, this fundamental right that, humans in our democratic society should have, I feel like if you get out of jail and they're like, sorry, you can't buy a firearm. You can't buy even body armor or ammunition. You can't do all these things. You're going to have to put this down on every single job pamphlet you get. Well, do we expect them to have reform?
So
I think
how possible is it when we're taking away all these things and they can't even vote?
I think all of the things that you listed, though, are totally called for.
I think
Body armor,
and ammunition. Okay, I'm fine with felons not having that because most of the time it is violent offenders.
Right.
Yeah.
But taking away the right to vote is like.
So
voting isn't a privilege. I wrote this down. Let's see. Voting isn't a privilege earned by following the law, but an inalienable right of every citizen in a democracy. So people commit crimes all the time and they can still vote. So if somebody accidentally lit something on fire and ended up burning down a couple buildings when they were 18 years old, at 53, do you think that they should have the right to figure out where their tax money is going?
But if you're not willing to follow the law,
at 18 years old,
right,
accidentally doing something like, people who commit murder are still in jail. The people who commit these but for the most part, they are. And I think the fact that these people get out of jail and then they're paying taxes, but they can't figure out where they can't vote to where those taxes are actually being applied. It's kind of.
Oh, it's a very hard.
I'm split.
It's a weird discussion
because
to have.
in my head, I'm like, if you break the law, that's bullshit. If you get to decide where my taxes go because I'm following the law. So,
but their taxes.
No, I get
once
it.
They're out, they're paying taxes. But when they're in, they're not.
It's like it just depends on the case, I guess, and that's why this is so hard to just make a law that is all inclusive in general. Yeah. And okay, what were you gonna say?
So I had a really hard time because I was trying to find reasons why felons should be allowed to vote.
Okay.
And
shouldn't be allowed to vote.
And I found two arguments that I thought would be good arguments. Does it mean that I agree with them? I don't know. No. But these are the things that I found, the only two things that I found in all of my research. And the number one thing was, if you're not willing to follow the law, then you should not have a role in making the law for everyone else.
Yeah.
Which I am on board with.
I am on board
sounds
with.
right.
Yeah. It's hard for me to think that someone that did commit these things is allowed to I feel like you should be in timeout. But then at the same time, if you have paid your due by doing your timeout, then you should also not
get it back.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I read that it says someone was talking about it is not a legitimate government objective for elected officials to fine-tune the quality of electorate. That would mean that not only criminals but also children, non-citizens, and the mentally incompetent must be allowed to vote. In fact, we do have certain minimum objective standards of responsibility and commitment to our laws that we require people to meet before they are given a role in the solemn enterprise of self-government. People who have committed serious crimes against their fellow citizens don't meet those standards, and those crimes can include such nonviolent felonies as, say, treason and espionage, or voter fraud and public corruption, white-collar crime and felonies merely concerning drugs, like trafficking in fentanyl-laced heroin and selling it to minors.
How is that
for
not
example.
harmful to your fellow citizens?
Well, these are...
No, I'm just...
Right. But, like, these are like felonies that people commit, like drug trafficking and things that, like, and in Florida, I will say that they made the law to where they are giving felons back the right to vote, except for people who have committed murder or people that have committed felony sex crimes.
Okay.
Like,
see, that's kind of how I feel.
Like
I'm
rape
like, if
or
you've
child
murdered
abuse
somebody,
or- yeah.
but then again, if you,
So, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, if you murder someone, then you take away their right to vote.
Yeah.
So why should you have the right to vote?
Yeah.
But then on the other aspect of it, we're picking and choosing still who can vote and who can't vote, which I feel like that's going to be a never-ending battle, because it's like, oh, well, they committed this felony, which isn't as bad as this, and then we're like,
but then
Right.
again, I do feel like, as skewed as our justice system is, most of the people who deserve to be there are there. The people who, like, outwardly kill their mother, or like we talked about earlier, obviously that person doesn't count, because in New Zealand they're like hanging out and they're 80 years old and a
They're just
novel
living their
writer.
life, yeah.
well,
But-
she lives in America now and is probably an American citizen and probably
is
votes.
voting. What the?
Yeah, exactly.
But-
See, this is all just like, what do we do about it?
But I mean, I might go out on a limb to say, for the most part, if you murdered someone and you've gone through a trial, you're in jail. Like, out of, the hate in your heart, you hurted someone. You murdered someone.
You hurted me. You hurted my
You're
heart.
probably in jail. But then again, yeah. What's crazy to me is that you can just be a simple possession with no intent to sell, and you could be a felon.
Yeah, I think that's, and I was reading, so
there's just so many
it's there. I mean, it's a controversial subject.
It's very controversial.
and it's you pick and choose all day
Yes.
long, and that's the hard thing. There's Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, has been campaigning for Amendment 4, and he had a felony record. And he said, at the end of the day, when a debt is paid, it's paid. We all want to be forgiven. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like, do we forgive these people for making these mistakes? Or
like they've done their time.
yeah.
But
and
it's like,
do you believe that
how
people,
big of a mistake?
Okay,
well,
so
that's the thing. Do you believe that when people go to prison
No.
and they get released, that they actually have made amends?
No.
So
not
I did
a lot
find
of the time.
I found a nice little like quote that someone had posted about this subject, and I agree wholeheartedly. The ultimate goal of most punishments is to better the felon and reintegrate them into society. Taking away the right to vote achieves the opposite by disenfranchising and alienating from society. So our end goal when we're putting someone in prison is to make them better, is to make them learn from their mistakes. And then if it's not a terrible, terrible crime, they can come out and still be a part of our society and contribute to the world in a positive way. And if we take away these like fundamental rights, like being able to vote where their money is going and what they, believe in their heart, I think it does the opposite effect. It really does. Like, people will end up, I found a statistic that said, if we take away these kinds of rights, or if we don't take away, wait, let me find it really quick. 1 second, because I'm going to Skew it. Okay, felons whose rights are restored are 2/3 more likely... Aren't restored. I'm sorry. Felons whose rights aren't restored are 2/3 more likely to return and be repeat offenders.
I like the idea that their rights can be, or at least their voter rights. I don't know what the rest of their life rights are going to be like, but at least their voter rights after they do some probation or they do some.
So there's something to work towards.
Because like it shouldn't be an automatic like, okay, you spent all this time in a box. Like, here's regular society. Here's all your rights back. I think they should be slowly integrated back.
Yeah.
And been like, this is what you can have. Like, this is the life that you can lead. And then you can vote on what be a regular human.
And be positive. Like, we want you to be better.
Yes.
We want you to be positive and to be able to contribute. And
but it's almost like they have to prove it again.
Yeah. If we never give them that right, though, then it's like, what's the point?
What are they working towards?
Yeah. There's nothing.
Other than, like, just not being in prison, I guess.
So I also found a really good article.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to read it because it's easier than me, like, trying to, like, paraphrase while on wine.
While on wine.
On wine.
Okay, so far, no official campaign has formed against Amendment 4 in Florida, a sign that the measure has very little in the way of serious opposition. But there are some critics. Floridians for a Sensible Voting Rights Policy, a conservative group, posted a short blog post criticizing the initiative last year. The post largely complained about Amendment 4 failing to differentiate between different kinds of people affected, claiming that besides murder and felony sex offenses, the measure treats many other violent crimes no differently than nonviolent crimes and makes no distinction between one-time offenders and career criminals. Governor Scott, who's currently running for Senate against Democratic incumbent, I don't know that word, Senator Bill Nelson, has suggested that he would prefer handling the restoration of voting rights on a case-by-case basis, through which people convicted of felonies have to show that they're truly rehabilitated before they earn back their right to vote. The governor believes that in order for felons to have their rights restored, they have to demonstrate that they can live a life free of crime, show a willingness to request to have their rights restored, and show restitution to the victims of their crime. Representative Ron DeSantis, the Republican running for Florida governor against Democrat Andrew Gillum, shares similar views, according to a spokesperson. The criticism is essentially a defense of the current system. But as shown since it was implemented, the current system is sluggish. It fails to restore voting rights for the great majority of people in Florida convicted of felonies. It's also out of line with what most states do, since most automatically restore voting rights upon the completion of a sentence. It's no coincidence that Republican and conservative groups are the most resistant, because Black people are disproportionately disenfranchised by these kind of laws. And because Black people tend to vote Democrat, there is a sense that Amendment 4 would be a boost to Democrats politically. In a swing state where a presidential election came down to a few hundred votes, which you talked about, this is a big deal. But Amendment 4 supporters push back against that. They point out that 29.6% of those disenfranchised by the law in Florida today are Black. While that is a disproportionate amount relative to the state's population of Black people, 16.9%, it's still a minority. I'm fighting just as hard for that guy who wants to vote for Donald Trump as the one who wishes he could have voted for President Obama. It doesn't matter how someone's going to vote if our decision whether or not to support something is based on how we think people are going to vote. There's something wrong there.
Yeah.
And I thought that was
Definitely.
I really loved how they said that, because I think
it's not the point. Like, you don't want to control what these people are going to do.
And I think that, like, it doesn't matter who you vote for, because everyone's going to vote for who they believe is going to be the better person. And I think that that's all that really matters. And I think that if we're trying to, like, push this for some, like, agenda, then it's not right. I think that everyone should be able to have that, like, right. It doesn't matter who you're going to vote for. You should be able to have that right. And I also found in another article, they were talking about losing the right to vote is among numerous other consequences of being convicted of a crime. The so-called civil death suggests that person is considered dead to society. And the larger political consequence is a lack of representation in government of a large group of citizens who are largely poor and people of color. And I think that nowadays, with all of the issues going on with people that are being arrested for, like, because of their color and just things like, I think that we have a society that has become more about who you are as a person instead of what you're doing. Yeah. And so I think that that's another reason why I think
have you guys listened to the new season of Serial?
No,
I haven't.
Because so the new season 3, she's in Koenig. What's her first name? Sarah Koenig? Koenig? Yeah. Okay. She goes to Cleveland, okay? And she literally just spends a year and a half in the Cleveland Justice Department and like in the court system and just like listening to random cases, not based on one case, but like just listening to a bunch of them. And you can just hear with every single episode, it's about something new, or they'll tie it into like old cases that she had brought up in the beginning, but it's all very like slanted and you can just hear it. But that's the last thing that I found when I was researching this topic is that the disenfranchisement laws are a form of racial discrimination, just based on the fact that there are 12.6% of Americans are African American or black, whatever, you need to say. But 38% of the prison population, 38% are African American. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot for the fact that they only encompass 12.6% of the actual population. Mm-hmm. And the bias in the justice system is just insane.
Well, it's still old. Like they're still running on old ideas, unfortunately, and it's sad.
I just want everyone out there that's listening to not go commit a felony. Like, let's just stop this right now.
Yes.
Everybody stop committing crimes. I don't care who you are, what you look like, anything about you. Stop committing crimes, and we won't have this problem anymore.
Let's just all be angels. Can we?
Angel babies.
Angel babies.
Yeah. Drink wine. When you drink wine, you're a happier person.
Stay inside. Don't go out. Because if you go out and drink wine, shit can happen.
Also, it's expensive. We've come to that conclusion.
Man. It's actually kind of
Taylor
crazy.
Was like, do you know that they charge you like $7 for a glass of wine? And this is like a $10 bottle.
What the bottle of wine is worth for one glass.
You just figured this out?
No, I mean...
This is
kind
of,
of,
but she just was finally angry about
years, y'all.
I've actually just started thinking about it because I'm like, why would I pay $9 for a glass of Apothic Red when the entire bottle costs $9 to buy?
Yes,
it's actually
same
like
with beer.
$14, I think.
Where are you going,
Kroger's?
Guys, Kroger, it's $9.99.
Oh, I get the more expensive Apothic. That's why.
No, Apothic Red, Apothic Crush. What expensive one are you talking about?
This one, Inferno?
Maybe Inferno because it's a new one. I've never had it. Yeah. But normally it's like $9.99. And I'm like, cool. But if I go somewhere and I get one glass for $9.99 and I'm like,
where are you
we got
going?
Cupcake at the liquor store for like $8.
$7.99.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you
don't go to Kroger's?
I keep going to Kroger.
Don't go to Kroger's.
Go to the Red Awning. The Red Awning place.
Just
go
to
great.
like a neighborhood liquor store.
Yeah. I have my...
You should go
I have
there.
Like the ghetto one, and then I have like
go to the ghetto one.
Yeah,
I kind of get scared every time I go there.
But
they're probably
cheaper
really
wine.
nice.
Cheaper wine.
That's true.
Cheaper wine.
That being said, I do believe that felons should be able to get back the right. I do think that it's good that maybe it's taken away for a while just so they can be like, okay, I want this back.
I think you should still be punished for doing bad
Well,
things.
and that's what the sentence is for.
Like
that's why they're in a tiny cubicle and, that's why they serve their time. And when they get out, I want people who get out of prison to be able to reintegrate back into life and be able to like get a job and be able to, you know, make enough money for their family to survive and be able to vote and do all these things that make life worth, you know, doing.
TT 2020.
TT 2020. What can I say? I'm pretty wise.
This was a solid discussion, guys.
It was.
Thank you for this.
Very interesting.
Thanks, Randallin.
Really, I haven't, like I said, I have never thought about this in my life because it has never really directly affected me. But also, it just has never come to my attention.
It's an interesting discussion.
I was so surprised at how many states like are already doing that.
Yeah.
I had this whole long conversation with my cousin today, and I was like, yeah, I thought that Florida was like super progressive. I was like, yeah, you go Florida, like this is great. And then I realized that no,
I'm not a state, I'm a monster.
like we are not ahead of the times at all whatsoever.
But at least you're moving forward. That's like
you gotta,
that's also
you gotta
like Obama's
grow
thing,
with
right?
the time.
Moving forward.
Change.
Forward. Change.
Mandy is
been so
holding
long,
up
I don't
2-piece signs. 2-piece signs up in the air, and she said,
Hope,
change.
Oh, I thought you were just counting to 4.
Bunny ears.
Okay, so guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, even if you haven't, please go to our
Instagram, Facebook.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say, please go to our merch website at popcrimeandwine.threadless.com. Get you a coffee mug.
Get you a t-shirt.
Yeah, wake up with us.
Wake. Oh.
Ooh. Yo, I'm
That's
really
good.
Really cranky.
Wake
when
up
I
with
wake
us
up.
with a little coffee thing, and
That's
it says
cute.
Pop Crime and Wine. I love that.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
If you like that
welcome.
idea, let us know.
If
Because we could have more ideas.
Yes. If you like our merch and you want to represent us, please send us a picture, like slide into our DMs, take a picture with the merch that you bought, and we'll put you on our social media.
Also, just post it and
Yes.
tag us. That would work
Yeah,
too.
please
And we'll
do.
repost
Whatever.
you.
We'll
I don't
repost
know
your
how the
shit.
internet works.
Actually, if you just DM us and don't post it so your friends can see, we'll take offense.
Yeah,
So,
we want everyone
true.
to see us.
True. You're right.
Yeah. Do all the things.
but we're really excited about it. So please go find some things, and I think they're pretty, decently priced. So
Dope.
Dear
Get you a
Banksy,
t-shirt.
if you want to make graffiti about us, you
We'd
have
love
our
it.
permission.
Yep. This
I know
is
you
it.
don't want our
Legally.
permission, so like I'm actually going to tell you that
You're
don't
not
have our
allowed.
permission. Don't do it.
don't do it.
But you should do it. Yeah, you should do it. Please do it.
Also, if you want to sponsor an episode, you can send us some moolah and tell us what wine we should get at popcrimewine@gmail.com. That is our PayPal account.
Whoop, whoop.
So you can send us some dollars, or you can Venmo us, or whatever. We'll figure it out. But
You can even say, hey, just choose whatever you want.
yes,
But
Because
also,
that's fun.
here's some dollars. Just pick a wine you like.
if you do sponsor us, I kind of like the idea that people have been doing lately and giving us topics.
Yeah, I like
This
that
is
too.
fun.
We
Yeah.
love it.
So
We love it.
I love it so
if you
much.
don't sponsor us, give us topics.
Check our Instagram at popcrimeandwine. Our Twitter is the same. And thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
Leave
love
us
you
a
guys.
review.
Probably.
All the things.
All the things.
We will
See you next
Tuesday.
As I'm
Still going. Have you guys seen The Middle? That
Yes.
show?
Yeah.
And then he talks, and then he like see you next Tuesday, and he's like, "See you next Tuesday." And he says it Tuesday after that. That's what I'm gonna do for every episode
I
from
like
now
it.
on. I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, so this is happening."